Hi there, this is Louise, and I'm reading to you chapter 1 of The Idiot's Guide to Magic. Chapter 1 is called We Are Creating Machines. From the moment we are born, we begin creating. We have experiences by which we orientate ourselves in this world in which we find ourselves. As infants, we are in a state of what we shall call innocence. We are totally open to everything around us. Nothing is labelled. We have no names for anything. Our senses are assailed by an immense amount of information, and we have to begin to sift through this information and create a framework by which we feel able to cope with it all. This framework is what psychologists refer to as conditioning, and what we might call the ego or the identity. Things happen to us which cause us pain, inevitably. Even if you had the most perfect parenting, there would be some situation that occurred which caused you pain as a baby or as a small child. This wound, as we shall call it, makes you develop strategies by which you endeavour to protect yourself against further pain. Other situations happen, and you add more strategies to your repertoire of protective devices until bit by bit your beliefs about the world, yourself, others, and how you believe you have to be in the world in order to survive become the structure by which you live your whole life. So, the wounds we accumulate and the patterns of behaviour by which we live our lives become more and more established. These structures dictate the way our energies flow. Energy will always follow the path of least resistance. Notice that a river will always follow the path it has carved out for itself. The water will never flow up a hill or along a different course unless there is some immense flood. Electricity will always flow down the wires that have been set up to conduct it. A rocking chair will always move the same way, dictated by the shape of its rockers. Everywhere we see how energy flows in the direction of the structures that are present, from the smallest atomic structures up to the course that the planets take through the heavens. So it is with our egoic structures. These are very real energetic structures and completely rule our behaviour and what we create in our lives. They are not the truth of who we are. They're just the rules that we have made up by which we orientate ourselves, and they are largely unconsciously held. Now, this is the interesting and very cool part of all this. The beliefs you end up with about yourself, others, and the world are arbitrary, and you made them up. Yes, you made it all up. You created it. This means that you are 100% responsible for everything in your world. Does this sound preposterous to you? Does this make your hackles come up and make you get defensive? Just suspend judgment for a while and read on. The reason this is so cool is that it means that if you have been 100% responsible for whatever is in your world, then you are no longer a victim of your circumstances, and you have the power to change the way you create your life. How many of us have lived blaming parents, education, economic conditions, work, lack of work, ill health, being misunderstood, lack of opportunity, bad luck, etc., for our present circumstances. How many of us, therefore, experience ourselves as victims? How would you like to be able to change the way you create your life? How would you like to take back the power for your life and become aware of how you operate and then make new choices about your life? New conscious choices about what you want in your life. So the chances are, if you're reading this, or if you're listening to it, in this case, so I'll say that again. So the chances are, if you're reading this, you've got things in your life that you're dissatisfied with. Stuff has gone wrong. You hate your job. You haven't got enough money. Your relationship drives you crazy. Your health is not great. You wish that things could have been different. You were adopted. You're too tall, short, fat, thin. You're anxious, depressed, have panic attacks. You're fearful, insecure, bored, fed up, etc. This list could be endless. But one thing you will all have in common is that you are seeking an answer. You're probably feeling like you're a victim of your circumstances. It is usual to feel like your problems are not your fault. And it is easy to look outside yourself to find excellent and plausible reasons why things are the way they are. My upbringing, my social class, the economy, my health, my lack of education, my partner, my kids. We can tie ourselves up in knots trying to figure out where to put the blame, trying to find the reason. The key fact here to note is that we are always referring to the past to give us the information we feel we need to create the future. But the past is over. And to create something new, we need to make new connections, be innovative about our lives, and not keep referring to the past. What's more, here's the thing. You have created everything yourself. This is like the good news and the bad news all in one go. The bad news is you can't blame anything outside of yourself anymore. And the good news is actually the best news ever. Because if you are responsible for everything in your life so far, then that has to mean that you are an extremely powerful person. It delightfully means that if you have created everything in your life, then you have the possibility to create something new. It means that anything is possible. It means that you have your own innate abilities and talents, which you can unleash upon the world to create the life you would truly love to live. Are you interested in learning how? If your answer to this question is yes, then read on. We are wonderful, divine, creative beings who have forgotten who we are. This is the bottom line. We are truly divine, creative beings who have come to Earth to have an experience of life in a physical form. If you have ever wondered what this God business is all about, then wonder no more, because you are it. We are it. What's more, we all come into life with a gift, a true nature and purpose, stuff that really matters to us, which we want to share with the world. But when we are born, the roller coaster ride starts, and things start to happen to us to make us believe that we are victims of our circumstances. And that creates beliefs about ourselves, and the world. We come into life open and innocent, knowing ourselves, then we forget who we are. We develop strategies and behaviours We make up stories about why we are the way we are and about the way we need to be in order to fit in and survive. Because of this preoccupation, we forget who we really are. It is as if a veil is drawn to obscure the truth of who we are, and we end up focusing on what we think we need to do instead of what we came here to bring to the world. We make decisions in our lives based on this early conditioning, and the downside about this is that it all happens in a level of our minds and emotions which we don't see. We are not generally conscious of the beliefs that worm their way into our lives and take over the running of the whole operation. This is because they go in when we are so young. By the time we are around 7 years of age or earlier, the blueprint for our survival strategy is more or less in place, and as adults, we are walking around with a child running the show. Our ego is like a vehicle that we've created to get us about in this physical reality. It's comprised of our body, mind, and emotions. Metaphorically speaking, we are like a car that has a child at the wheel. I'll refer to this programming as the unconscious. It becomes hardwired into our brains at a neurological level, creating those old familiar feelings and responses we have to situations which most of us berate ourselves for. You know, those times when you may be stressed out about something and you snap into some kind of behavioural response that you weren't expecting, and then you go, oh my God, I've done it again. Our conscious mind thinks it is in command of the ship, and we think we know what we're focusing on, what we want out of life, where we are going and who we are. Then suddenly, bam, we have those responses which take over. It is our unconscious focus on what our beliefs tell us about ourselves which creates problems for us. Our unconscious goes, nope, you can't have that because you're not good enough. You aren't worthy of it. You don't deserve it. And other similar things. 12 fundamental beliefs have been identified, and most people have at least a few of these which run their lives. There may be other beliefs and variations of them, but most beliefs will generally fit into one of these categories. I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I need to control myself. I can't trust others and the world. I'm insignificant, invisible. I don't have the capacity. There is a right way. There is a way things are in the world. I'm powerless. I'm not allowed to be capable. And lastly, I need to be perfect. For now, don't get hooked up on this. I just wanted to give you an idea of what the main beliefs are. And I expect some of them will resonate with you. A lot of them resonate with me. As I mentioned above, we all have at least a few of these beliefs. I can recognize practically all of them in myself. Understanding about beliefs, though, is simply a tool to help you unravel where your unconscious focus goes. And this is incredibly important because where you're unconsciously focusing creates your reality. I'll say that again. Where you're unconsciously focusing creates your reality. In order to get down and jiggy with creating a new reality in your life that you're going to love, you first of all have to know how to tell where your focus generally goes. The beliefs we hold about ourselves are like the clouds that block out the sun. The sun is always there, constant, shining, but those clouds obscure it and make it hard to see. The sun represents our higher self, and the clouds, the beliefs about ourselves held by our ego or our identity. We tend to look up at the sky and see the cloud cover, and we mistakenly think that this is who we actually are. We have forgotten that our real self is the bright, shining sun, all-powerful, ever-present, life-giving, and without which we would not exist at all. The aim of this book is to help you reconnect with the truth of who you really are, your higher self, for want of a better name. To help you remember that you're a magical, powerful individual, a truly divine creative being who has come here to play and to create and to contribute to the world, to shine your own beam of creativity into the world and have fun doing it. To enable you to see beyond the cloud cover that obscures your view of this awesome, gobsmacking truth of who you really are. How would you like to reconnect with your true essence and to have the tools to live the life you would love to live? There is a life you were born to have. There are things you would love to be doing that truly matter to you and that would give you satisfaction. Contribute to the world, leave the world a better place for having you in it, that bring love, light and true joy into your life and the lives of those you touch. Sound too good to be true? Well, believe me, it's not, and it's possible. Understanding who we are and that we have made it all up. The path you must take to reconnect with your higher self, brackets, other names, God, infinite, being, the universe, soul, bracket, is a pathway fraught with distraction. It is very easy to think you are on a path of self-discovery, but still be lost within the labyrinths of your own belief system. Even people who are so-called spiritual or New Age are mostly steeped in beliefs about the way things are. There are folk who, in quest of their souls, believe in things out there which can give them the powers they believe they need in order to find themselves. I have met spiritual seekers who give away their powers to crystals, ceremonies, tarot cards and the like, believing that these external things have the power to fix their lives. It has become, for some people I have met, a substitute for religion. And then there is religion. How much do people give their power away to a dogma which says it's the only way to salvation? I believe that religious books were written by mystics who understood consciousness and that they were written in the form of psychodramas to help the people of the time understand who they were and about their consciousness. I have nothing against religion or New Age beliefs at all. There's a lot of wisdom and good that comes out of these practices. But when it becomes dogma, it can become destructive. Everyone in this life is on a quest to reconnect with the truth of who they are. A quest to find themselves. I've heard others refer to this as being like a mountain that we must endeavour to climb. There are many paths up the mountain, and it matters not a bit which path you take, because all the paths lead to the top. But when a person becomes dogmatic about the way things are and holds to the point of view that there are definitive ways that things must be done, or that immutable laws exist with which you cannot argue, they not only don't realise that they are a divine creative being, but they can never become privy to one of the best things of all about the freedom of living creatively, that we make it all up. We are not called divine creative beings for nothing, you know. We are called divine creative beings because that's exactly what we are, and it's supposed to be fun. We are God, we are divine, and we are creative. That means that we are 100% responsible for what exists in our world, and we have made it all up. This world is like a playground for the gods, us. That's the Garden of Eden, when we know who we are, when we live in the purity of knowing the nature, the true nature of ourselves. We came here to play, to create, to experience this beautiful world that our collective God consciousness created. But something happened to us. We developed an identity. We lost our innocence, we forgot our true nature, and we went to sleep. How do you think anything in existence came into being, even all the things we take for granted? Because someone dreamed it was possible and found a way to create it, just like that, out of nothing, out of an idea, out of the ethers. I can't stress this enough. We are divine creative beings, which means you too have the ability to create what doesn't seem to exist now, what doesn't seem possible, and which would appear to some to be slightly insane. How many times do I trip myself up by thinking that something I want is not possible? None of us are immune to this sleeping sickness that pervades humanity, unless maybe we are like a Buddha or a Jesus or some other great being like that. We tend to have glimpses of our higher self, moments when we live there, see the truth, get all connected, and the next minute we are consumed again by the good old egoic agenda, which likes to keep us chained to the world of the impossible. The best thing I have recently realised is that my soul is neutral about whether I am rich, poor, hot, cold, up, down, high, low, or anything at all. My soul is just here for the ride. It just is. It is indifferent to my suffering. It observes my shitty moods. It observes my joyous moods. It is detached from outcomes. It doesn't judge. And it is the source of all possibility. It is the seat of all knowledge. It is the cradle of all nurturing. It is where all power and love resides. Our ego, though, feels incomplete the way it is. It sees life through the beliefs we developed as a child. And it thinks it will find things out there somewhere which, when obtained, will make it complete. And when it is complete, then and only then will it be able to have those things which it loves. But in the attempt to become complete, the very act of focusing on the beliefs, which are all made up anyway, tends to attract what you don't want. It is like a catch-22. You know what you would love. You think you can't have it until you're complete. You try and complete yourself by looking for something out there in the world based on what you believe you lack, which only reinforces the belief about what you lack. So you're forever chasing your tail, trying to improve yourself and missing the point completely. The point is, your higher self, the great I am, is already complete, needs nothing, and is the only true source of everything. Within the reconnection to your higher self lies all your true power, your true joy, your knowledge. Really and truly, it is all that is. Our ego's sense of incompleteness is why things go wrong for us. Relationships are one of the main areas in which things go wrong. Would you agree? This is because we are looking for something in our partner which will complete us. The partner is also looking for something in us which will complete them. Inevitably, we do not find what we are looking for. Once the rosy spectacles of the first flush of hormones wears off, many relationships become a codependent tolerance of each other, rather than a functional relationship, a functional partnership based on true love. True love happens for some lucky people, regardless of whether or not they have realised their own complete divine nature, but for a lot of us, it is a constant struggle. I have had 2 failed marriages. They taught me a lot about what I don't want. I had a child from each marriage, a girl from the first marriage and a boy from the second, and they have both been a source of great joy and a source of great learning for me. I wouldn't change that for the world, but I wasn't functioning from a knowledge that I could create the reality I would love. I had no idea of how to create my future. They don't teach us that at school, do they? I lived seeing life only from the perspective of the beliefs I held about the world. As a youngster, I felt trapped in my home. I wanted freedom and to escape from the feeling that somehow I was in the wrong place. I had a strong not belonging belief. Thanks to that not belonging belief, I managed to create marriages that didn't survive. My first husband was what I perceived at the time to be a freedom-loving hippie. I was attracted to the lifestyle that he had, which included a freedom from convention that I found very exciting. But over time, the reality of having to earn a living and create a more secure lifestyle meant that we had to try to fit in. I ended up being the main breadwinner, and life was not easy with me going out to work, leaving him at home with our small daughter. I think that when my career as an opera singer began to take off, it made him feel powerless and left out. It was a difficult time and things went wrong because we were both looking for something in the other to complete ourselves, and ultimately that never ever works. I had been looking for that carefree lifestyle which I didn't have in my conventional upbringing, where I had always felt very out of place. Similar story with husband number 2. He was younger than me by quite a lot, 11 years to be precise. Again, what I was looking for was someone to complete me. Our beliefs never go away, and I still felt like I didn't belong. I was looking for a change. He seemed different and offered me a youthfulness which was a welcome change from the older man I'd been with before. He was supremely practical in that he could make anything, fix anything, and seemed like just the sort who I could rely upon to look after me. After the first marriage, where I had been the breadwinner, this time I thought I was onto a good thing. Young, fit, able, capable, we got on really well, and I was sure nothing would go wrong this time. But again, we were both looking for something in the other to complete ourselves that neither of us could deliver. It's like you feel you lack something and unconsciously you think you'll get that from someone else. His talents and abilities were things I felt I needed in life to make me feel secure. And through that, I would find my sense of belonging. In a relationship, if you unconsciously look for your other half to provide you with what you believe you lack, it creates pressures on both sides. This kind of relationship is known as codependent. Unless we're very conscious people, we tend to attract people into our lives who mirror our own self-sabotaging beliefs. It's like a little energetic dance we do together where belief creates reality, which reinforces belief. It's like being on a wheel in a hamster's cage. Codependent relationships rarely work out well. If people stay together in that type of situation, they are never truly happy. So now moving onward with my newfound perspective, I'm on the lookout for something more functional. And from the viewpoint of myself being complete, I'll keep you informed. Excuse me, got itchy nose. That's just one example of how our beliefs can mess our lives up. In this work, we can use our knowledge of how the unconscious focus creates our reality to refocus and create a better reality, one that we would truly love. It works the same in every area of life. For instance, I have also had problems with money. My relationship with money was based on fear of never having enough and having a belief that money is hard to come by. So guess what? What this created in my life was that I always survived but never had enough for the nice little extras that I would have liked. Holidays, really nice cars. My belief is that others can have that, but I'm not lucky enough and not worthy enough to have all that. Even when I was given money, an inheritance from my mother, I managed to lose it. Which is another story. Luckily, things are turning around for me now, and I can see how living in fear of running out of money was what created me actually losing it. It also says a lot about my belief in not being capable of earning more. Incredible, seeing as I am an extremely talented individual, even though I do say so myself, and in the past have felt unable to make a good living doing what I do the best. I had a career as an opera singer, and I had the potential to go right to the top. But somehow I never had what I perceived as the lucky breaks, and I ended up not getting to the top. I never understood why until later on, and now I can see how these beliefs I held about myself were like self-fulfilling prophecies that completely enabled me to actually create a life of many things that I didn't want. Don't get me wrong. I also had many, many great and memorable moments in my life, marriages and career, but I never managed for everything to be wonderful in the way that I would have liked. It is so freeing to illuminate these things in your life and to know that despite your age, despite your circumstances, and despite what your ego will constantly tell you, you actually can create what you would love. I just recently celebrated my 64th birthday. Yay, go me. That was a few years ago now. And I am not only healthy and energetic, but I also know that I now have the tools to go onward into my dotage with freedom to create whatever I like. And while I'm talking about health, there's a biggie. People's beliefs around health are huge. Most people feel like they are a victim of their own bodies. It is incredible how powerless most of us feel in the face of anything that goes wrong with our health. It is your body. It is totally and completely under your control. Your body loves you. and wants to support you. It is there to look after you. And yet most people are completely stuck in the belief that they are totally powerless when it comes to health. It is so fundamental. Your body is yours, and it does not want to attack you. It wants to support you. The truth is that illness is the result of your thoughts and your beliefs. How is it that some people get sick while others don't? As a traditionally trained medical doctor, a traditionally trained medical doctor can only speculate as to why someone gets something wrong with them. As an asthmatic, I have asked doctors the question, why do I have this? They didn't have an answer. There is now growing evidence that shows that our emotions and internal states can actually change our DNA, can change the structure of our DNA. In other words, our DNA can morph and change depending on how we respond to external conditions. And these responses totally control our health. Something like only 5% of all diseases are actually genetic, and the rest is lifestyle. And as a side note here, I want to add that I've actually cured my asthma through my work. So that is a fantastic thing. So this may sound horrible, but sometimes I have seen people who wear their illness like some kind of badge. It becomes their identity, their current reality, and how they see themselves fitting into the world. It's an attachment because it sort of makes them special and stand out from the crowd. And they use it as the ultimate excuse as to why they can't get on with their lives. I know that sounds horrible, but I've done it myself. I'm not excluding myself from this. I hear so many people say things like, oh, well, you know, I can't do such and such because I have this condition. It might be a bad back or asthma or any number of things, but it can tend to be the ultimate get out that the ego throws up to stop someone from creating the life that they would love to live. Of course, not everyone with a disease or illness is like that, and you may think I'm being heartless, but I assure you, I have had more than my fair share of ill health. I feel deep compassion for those who are sick, especially children and the elderly. I would do anything I could to wave a magic wand for them and make it all better. But the truth is that most of our health problems are caused by unhealthy lifestyle choices, the way we think, how we cope with stress, and our emotional responses. I read a book by Paul McKenna called Change Your Life in 7 Days. He says, the continual inappropriate arousal of our mind and body can lead to illnesses. And I agree with him. I was very badly asthmatic as a child. I had one thing after the other wrong with me. Now, looking back, I can see how I created this problem for myself. What it did was it made me be noticed by my mother, who was so caught up in her own world as to be almost non-existent in my life until I became ill. I have no memories of my mother cuddling me, except for the occasional awkward embrace. I, albeit subconsciously, masterfully created being a sick, asthmatic child so that my mother would notice me. Through this realization, I have actually now managed to eliminate this disease from my life. So in summary, the bottom line is that we are creating machines From the moment we are born, we start to create our own 3D reality, what we think is real and the way things are. We have experiences, and through these our beliefs and assumptions about life are formed. And this is how we orientate ourselves in this world in which we find ourselves. And there you have chapter 1 of The Idiot's Guide to Magic. And I will be doing chapter 2 at some point soon. Please do like and share, or just share. And love to you from me.